Hello, everybody. I'm back. Hope you're happy to be here. Anyways, I wanted to talk about the overpopulation myth and the dangers of us believing in it. So, there's a lot of big figures running around talking about overpopulation, and they're saying that most of our problems today come from overpopulation. So, the obvious danger in that theory is that depopulation is needed, right? If overpopulation is a problem, then the solution is depopulation. But that's a myth, right? It's not a real. That's not the real problem. The problem isn't how many people are here. It's the way that we run things, right? Because human beings on their own don't create enough pollution from breathing and living to have such an impact. It's what we do. It's the way that we do the things that we do. It's the fact that we need all this stuff. We're dependent on electricity. We're dependent on oils, fossil fuels, burning things, uh, and plastic and all the stuff that ends up becoming trash pollution and all the factors that have contributed to 50% of the world's species going extinct in the last 100 years or so. Yeah, that's right. What we've been doing has caused half of the species on this planet to go extinct. Think about that. And that's not because of how many of us there are, it's because of the way we do the things we do. So, uh, we already produce twice as much food as we consume. We already produce enough food for twice the population that we already have. Yet people are still hungry and food's still being thrown away. So, it's not overpopulation that's the problem. It's the way that we do the things that we do. And there's a lot of people that still, they happen to live in beautiful areas where the destruction isn't so obvious, and so they might not believe that the world is in danger from a lot of changing pollutions and the way that we build our society. They might think that everything's fine because everything's fine where they're at, but they're obviously not seeing the stuff that's going on everywhere else. You know, um, we in the oceans over here in Florida, we're seeing all kinds of dead animals rise up, and it's not something that is part of a natural cycle. And we see the same thing in the rivers here. I've seen it personally. Uh, I've been canoeing and down a river, and then there's like literally 500,000. There's thousands of dead fish in the trees because it flooded, and then all the runoff and all the pollutants ended up killing all the fish, and then they got stuck in the trees, and then the water came back down. So I've been canoeing and literally just seeing dead things everywhere, and yeah, that was pretty traumatic for me, and it's real. And that all affects us, whether we like it or not. All the food that we eat comes from the earth, whether it's plants or food or animals. The animals are eating the stuff that comes from the earth. And no matter what we drink, it comes from the earth. Everything that we eat, everything we drink, everything that we consume comes from the earth. And we are totally disrespecting it with our exploitation and extraction for wealth and this so-called quality of life. We think we have it so much better than the cavemen. They didn't have to work 50, 60 hours a week or else have nowhere to live. Anyways, you know, um, we're seeing water rising on all over the place. The caps are melting. Um, Scientists all over they know about it. But the problem is that if they think that overpopulation is the problem, if they think overpopulation is the cause of the problem, then they might advocate for depopulation, which should scare the hell out of anybody that's alive. Depopulation is stuff like genocide, eugenics, euthanasia, sterilization of people. And that's scary because if scientists are saying that we need to depopulate, then how are they going to do that? Who's going to do it? It's not going to be some radical scientist group of terrorists or something. It's going to be a government probably that would do it. That's what would they traditionally do in that circumstance? They would look for all the people that are undesirable. They'd find ways to mark them and get them on the list. They'd probably move to anybody that has any political opposition to the concept of depopulation. And if this myth is allowed to perpetrate into all the nations, and if it becomes a global misconception that overpopulation is the problem, we could have some serious atrocities committed in the name of protecting the human future. So that might be the alternative to what actually needs to happen. Like, what actually needs to happen is, like, we need to just forget everything that we've ever thought about economy or ownership or profits or losses or dollars or currency or wealth. We need to forget all of that crap, and we just need to transform this planet immediately. We need to turn everything into anything that is a source of pain and suffering for this planet. We need to stop it and turn it into something that's going to renew and heal this planet. And we really need to put it above any other beliefs that we have. Like, I'm sorry if this offends any of my religious friends, but the earth right now is more important than anything else. We should honor it as if it was God itself. And if we saw God dying in front of us, wouldn't we want to help him or heal him or her, it? So, the earth is the source of everything that we have, and it's the magic zone in the universe that allows us to live. It's really one of the it's pretty much the most amazing thing on the world, right? Because it is the world. So we have to transform this planet right now. We got to stop polluting in any way. I know I smoke cigarettes. It's a bummer, I know, but I can still advocate that we can make a difference in the way that we do things that we do. And I'm sure that my cigarettes smoking is not what has caused the extinction of 50% of the animals on this planet in the past 100 years. It's not the cigarettes. The problem is that our current economy thing that we have, right? This concept of the global economy or the GDP or net worth and all this other baloney. That concept basically says that the faster that we extract things from the earth and turn it into trash and put it back into the earth. The faster that cycle happens, the more wealth that we get. The more trees that you can cut down and turn into stuff, the more mountaintops you can blow up and get minerals from, the more poor Africans you can send into a mine for diamonds, the more you could dump chemicals into the ground to extract oil, the more you can pollute, the faster you get wealth. And greed is the number one motivator in this current age that we live in, is the greed of having awesome material things from the earth and material access and power. And it's sad that it almost seems extraterrestrial. Like, if you look at this planet from outside of it, right? If you're out in space and you're doing a report on this planet that you've experienced, and you're saying, well, it seems like they're in a race to destroy themselves. Uh, you know, they're always at war, and they're purposely allowing things to happen that poison themselves and all the creatures around it, and the waters and the air. They're purposely allowing this stuff to happen, and they're actually encouraging it. Like, if we were looking at ants on the floor, and instead of building a mound, they were killing themselves and, torching the lands and making it look like oil, and that would appear like something's wrong, right? So how, as a planet, were we convinced to destroy it for money? It's wild. So we need to forget all that crap, and we need to really transform this planet into something that's going to, continue to allow us to be on it. So we need to change the way that we do the things that we do. And if that means that right now we've got all this electricity that we need, so we need to change the way that we do that, the way that we get it, the way that we store it, what we use it on, the way that we travel. We need to fix all this stuff, and we need to stop making stuff that's just going to go into the earth and rot and make it toxic. We really need to heal this earth, and we need to do it everywhere we can. And like I said, there's some people that still live in beautiful areas, and they see what they see around them would make them think that there's nothing that needs to be done. But I'm telling you, yeah, there's stuff that needs to be done. Maybe not in your area, but everywhere else. And the way that you do things, the way that you do in that really nice area, is still having an impact on all of us. So, if we want to prevent horrible things like genocide, sterilization, euthanasia, eugenics, if we want to avoid that stuff, we need to change the way that we do things now. That will challenge the myth of overpopulation. And we need to stop the concept of overpopulation as a problem. We need to convince people that that's not the problem. It's the way that we do the things that we do. It's not how many people we have. And we need to fix it. So, I'm just trying to give some kind of heads up that I don't want any of that atrocity to happen. And that's one of the reasons that I am a fanatic supporter of the Green Party. Our platform is to go 100% fossil fuel free by 2030, and that is far more advanced and ambitious than any other policy party that you will see out there. Now, it's not it's not like it has to be the Green Party to do it. It's just anyone, all of us. We just got to do it. And the easiest way would obviously be for this super powerful federal government to just be like, okay, look, all oil is now illegal, and well, there'll be a transition period. We're gonna make everything renewable. Everyone will have free access, and there will be no need for anyone to use fossil fuels because we're gonna replace it all. And sorry if you don't like it, because anarchists aren't gonna get it done. You know, it would be nice. It's like, yeah, we're just gonna build a giant, free source uh, solar system and tie it into the grid, and no one's ever gonna have to pay for electricity again. But we can't do that without, having the right to own that land and all this other stuff. Only the government right now is the one that's capable of doing this. So that's why I vote for Green Party, because I would rather see us do this work now than have some totalitarian, uh, you know, uh, authoritarian regime fix it their own way in the future by the depopulation methods. So we need to squash this myth of overpopulation, and we need to transform the earth by changing the way that we do the things that we do. It's that simple. Green Party is the biggest path. It's the best path for that to happen. Now, you're not going to see a lot of funding for the Green Party, even though that they're the best option for all this, right, for the best path. You're not going to see a lot of funding for them because the people that have the most funding are the ones that don't want to change, because they still believe in economy and profit and costs. They still buy that stuff. It's still important to them. It's more important than the earth to them. But the earth is more important to us than profits, the people. The people like the earth. They want it. They want it to stick around. So somehow they keep getting the majority to vote against their own interests. And it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. You know, perhaps if we went back in time and we never stopped the equal time rule from being altered by lawyers and stuff like that, then maybe we'd have a shot. Equal time rule said that for any time that one candidate got on the air, all other candidates were guaranteed the same amount of time. So if that were happening for president right now, we've already had 8 or 9 months of nonstop Trump and Hillary. So it would mean that the next 3 or 4 months would be nonstop Jill Stein, Gary Johnson. And I think that would be way cooler than being blasted with Trump and Hillary all the time. I'd much rather hear about Johnson and Stein all the time. And Jill Stein, Green Party, is clearly the better choice for the environment and for the earth and for the future than the Libertarian Party. And I'm sorry if you're a supporter of the Libertarian Party, but we need to change and curtail the pollution and the way that corporations and the market work. We need to completely transform into the healing stage instead of the destruction stage. Free market economics is destructive because it says, okay, well, the faster that you can go and blow up the mountains and get the minerals and dig into the earth and get the oil and, go into the ocean and dig wells and get the oil out of the oceans, and the faster you can get the fish out of the ocean and the birds out of the sky, and the faster you can get the cows out of the field, the more everyone's going to make. The faster you can kill the planet, the better off you're going to be for now. It's a trade-off now for the future. It's robbing the future. It's robbing our next generations and the youth of this nation and their children and their grandchildren. This is theft. What's going on now? It's greed. It's materialism. It's the death of spiritualism. It's the death of solidarity. The rise of individualism. Look, I'm not saying it's bad to be an individual. That's obviously an American ideal. But when we put our own greed and desire and material stuff, if we put our own well-being above the rest of the people, that's not good. I don't care how cool you are. We need to put the health and well-being, not just of the entire planet now, but the entire planet for all time, above our own measly little life on this planet. The collection of all of us is obviously more important to continue than our own single existence. Like, would you rather see the whole world die for you to have a better life now? No, obviously not. That's a crazy answer to say, well, I don't care if the whole world goes extinct as long as I'm comfortable now. I mean, that's pretty much what the status quo is, whether or not people consciously say it, but unconsciously, subconsciously, that's what's going on in this world. So, it's going to take a lot of transformation to heal this planet, to undo the past and the present. And we owe it to the future. So it's actually pretty exciting that we're alive to participate in the great transformation of this planet. It's scary, but it's exciting. And I'll spend the next of my days hoping to see good news of new ways of transforming. And I'm going to continue to put my support into the Green Party and Green Party, not just of America or Florida, but the entire collection of Green Parties. There's a Green Party in over 90 nations right now. So it's a global initiative. It's in the best interest for us to transform into a healing society instead of a destructive society. And it should be something that we all think about, of how can we make a little difference, how can we make a big difference. And I'm glad to see that Amendment 4 has passed here in Florida to try to incentivize people to put solar panels on their houses or on their businesses. We live in the Sunshine State. We should be the prime example of solar power for the world. If we want to call ourselves the Sunshine State, it's ridiculous that we are not completely sufficient from the sun's energy in Florida. We're not even a fraction of the way there yet, and we need to change it. Anyways, live from Hurricane Hermione, Uh, hope you all have a nice day. Bye.